This year, International Open Access Week, we've come together from all over the globe to recognize and discuss who owns our knowledge, the theme of International Open Access Week. In coordination with the New York Tech Libraries, our Dean of Libraries, Millie Gonzalez, and Rosemary Burgos, Director of Libraries, I am Vanessa Viola, Art and Architecture Librarian here on the Long Island campus, and I'm glad to welcome you to this series of webinars. So this is our first event for the week. We are excited to meet with Semantic Climate to launch an introduction to the Semantic Encyclopedia. Today I'm here with colleagues Professor Peter Rust, Mr. Simon Worthington, and Ms. Shaikh Zanab. Peter is a chemist currently working at the University of Cambridge. Simon is a publishing technology researcher from the Open Science Lab in Germany. And Shaikh is a master of pharmacy and pharmacology at Anurag University in Hyderabad. Today's presentation will be recorded and shared with the community because there's just so much valuable information. I will add to the chat as we go along a series of events that you can join throughout the week. Today's presentation is, we have some formal presentation, but we encourage questions, conversations, and comments, reactions in the group. And as I mentioned here, our next events will happen with Semantic Climate on Friday. And so without further ado, I would love to introduce Dr. Peter Murray Rust, and hear his introduction to Semantic Climate. I'm going to stop my share so that you can share your screen as well.
Okay, so first of all, I'm Peter. We're very informal in Semantic Climate. And secondly, if I go on for too long, just shut me up, right? Okay. But I've been in open access area for nearly 30 years, something of that sort. So it's great to have Open Access Week. I have some personal thoughts about where open access is going, and I have put those on our website. Let me just see if I've got those.
If you'd like, I can drop things in the chat as you mention them.
I think yes, I ought to know where my own is, and so on. I thought it was we run a daily conference call which has a tool called Slack in it, where we share most of our immediate knowledge. And I'm just confused because I cleared my screen and then I cleared the materials I was going to use. Let's see if this is. No, that's not it at all. Simon, do you have the link to our material that I can work through?
Yeah, I do. So
I'll keep talking while Simon.
Yeah, Vanessa posted a link to the one blog post, and I posted a link to the others, and then I think maybe I'll just post this. I think maybe you're talking about our GitHub page.
Yes, that's what we're looking at. Yes.
Yeah. So that is I just posted that into the chat as well. Yeah.
Excellent. Right. This is.
And this is the link for the 2 days of presentations that are happening, the one today and the one on Friday.
Right. So one of the aspects of modern knowledge is it's very dispersed. There's no single source of truth. And so one has to work hard to link it all together. So there are several different tools that people use. They range from Word to Unix tools to HTML to various repositories such as GitHub, tools such as Slack and so on. And we use them all, but it can be difficult to pull them all together. Right. So what I'm going to suggest here today is, first of all, briefly, what the answer to the question of who owns our knowledge is, because I think it's important at the beginning of this week to address that, and then to see what we've done to try and take some action to make knowledge more ours. So very simply, in a few sentences, we've lost our knowledge. We have given away our scholarly communications to mega publishers who've captured it and who now charge us to do anything in that area. I've lived through 30 years of this, and I've watched it gradually happen so that we're now in a period of stasis, that nothing changes. There's no new development in scholarly publishing. From the publisher's point of view, there's no new technology, and we have a fragmented system where it's very difficult to find what you want, to find out what you can do with it, and how to use it. I'd be happy if people want to challenge this view. So I think this is an area where we want to have a discussion after this. So what we believe is that the knowledge which we create in universities and related organizations should belong to everybody, and it doesn't at the moment. And so to try and get that to happen, I think there are two approaches. One, which I'm not really going to discuss here, is the political approach. So that is lobbying funders to try and build a system, or get us to build a system which is better, and to try and change the role of so-called publishers at the moment who have created this problem. But the objective problem is that it will require quite a lot of work to come to the system that we believe we should be using today, not what we've got. So very simply, one of the big problems with the current publication system is that there are 200 or more different publishers. They all use their own particular formatting. All of that is 30 years out of date. There's no change. It's hard to author. It's hard to read. It's has really nothing going for it at all. Just to contrast, I work in software, and when I publish software, there's one particular place to publish it, which is GitHub. Everybody uses that. They work towards a common technology. It's collaborative. If somebody comes up with a new development, people rush to use it and to add to it. Whereas if somebody comes up with a new way of publishing things, it's normally ignored, but very often you get letters from the publishers saying you're not allowed to do that. The vision that we want to work towards is that of a corpus, a collection of all the world's publications in one place. So there's none of this business of having to go to different places for them, having to use different tools to read them. They should all be in one place at one time. And there is some movement towards that with the open access repositories, which include PubMed Central, and in Europe, PubMed Central, which is the longest established of these repositories, and very high quality, but it does restrict itself to medical and biological science. There's metadata repositories, Crossref and OpenAlex, which are very good again. They often have links to the full text, and it's the full text which we need for our corpus, but often those full texts are behind paywalls, or there's a great deal of friction in getting them. So it's only a limited solution. There are the preprint repositories, which I would commend to you, particularly Bio and Med Archive. I won't mention archive itself in physical sciences, although that is highly valuable. But Bio and Med Archive have preprints of many of the important publications. And then we mustn't forget the Global South. So I'm speaking here as someone who is a friend to the Global South and wants to see them properly recognized in the world. So Latin America has a different ethos for publication. They value publication as a public good rather than as a personal or university achievement. And that's exemplified by Redalic and Cielo in Latin America, which capture the full text of scholarly publications, often in non-English languages such as Portuguese and Spanish. So that's the substrate for what we want to do. So I've been talking for long enough, but what our goal is to take that material from wherever we can get it without being challenged by the publishers, take that material, turn it into a corpus, index that corpus, and then interpret that corpus using semantic encyclopedias. And that is the essence of what we've been doing, and what Jenab is going to show you today, and particularly later in the week in Friday. And I think it's a pipeline that changes the way we think about scholarship. So I would urge anybody who reads this, either at this time or in the future, to join us. We welcome people coming in as volunteers, or using semantic climate for, let's say, part of their master's research or similar things. So we've had undergraduates, we've had graduates come and join us and use our tools to help with navigating the literature and understanding it, and again, particularly from the point of view of the Global South. So I think I've said quite enough to start with, Simon.
Thank you, Peter. It's so important that what you mentioned about the diversity and realizing the ethos across the globe, because I think we all have to build empathy and understanding if we really want to recognize we're doing our best scholarly work. Simon, I appreciate hearing from you as well.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, my name's Simon Worthington, as you introduced. I'm at the Open Science Lab at the German National Library of Science and Technology in Hanover. And I think, Zainab will be showing us the alternative to what Peter has mentioned about the kind of, the lag that is there in the publishing industry, in the scholarly publishing industry. So Zainab is showing us the future. I think we're looking at a number of different ways that, about how we can make change to this. Peter, mentioned about the political and going, okay, we'll take that off the table. The comparison of how publishing is done compared to how software is done. And obviously we can see a lot of that has been taken on board in open science and in open access. That's moving forward, but incrementally. And I think my contribution, my interest has been in how you can spread the ideas about how to make those changes in your own context. So for me, that is very much about the idea of guides and the idea of like train the trainer, as you might get in the carpentries and the like. So when you find good practice, write it up, share that know-how, and that's how you can multiply things. So yeah, that's my my penny's worth into like how you make change. Yeah, so I'd kind of like to leave it there, and I think it's a good idea to hand over to Zainab to show us the pipeline, as Peter calls it, about how we are, how we're the different model of publishing we are working with, and actually how we build these semantic encyclopedias.
Yes, sure. So I'll be sharing my screen. So can you see my screen? Is it visible? Can you confirm whether it is visible?
It's visible.
Yeah,
yes.
we can see it.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Sure. Thank you. So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sheikh Zainab, and I'm currently pursuing my Master of Pharmacy at Anurag University, Telangana, India. So, at present, I am interning at Semantic Climate. Where we are involved in building a semantic encyclopedia. So, I'd like to begin by thanking the New York Institute of Technology Library for giving me the opportunity to present during the Open Access Week 2025. So, and be a part of such a meaningful discussion on the theme Who Owns Our Knowledge. So, before I begin, I would like to just mention that it's Diwali here in India, a festival of lights. So, many people are celebrating. So, if you happen to hear a few firecracker sounds in the background, I do apologize in advance. So, in this presentation, I'll be discussing the ongoing work at Semantic Climate and how the Semantic Encyclopedia helps transform raw data into structured knowledge and meaningful knowledge. So here is my university, Anurag University, and I'm currently interning with Semantic Climate at BRIC and IPGR, which is located in New Delhi, India. So in this presentation, we will explore what a semantic encyclopedia is, why we need it, how it is built, and where it can be applied. So to begin with, let's explore the semantic encyclopedia and get a brief understanding of its concept. So here is an example of the climate encyclopedia that we have created at Semantic Climate. You can see that there are a lot of terms along with the descriptions and visual images. So essentially a semantic encyclopedia, it is a customized collection of like information about the relevant terms. So basically here we are talking about the climate. So it is the customized collection of information about relevant terms in the field of climate. So here you can see different terms like a global carbon project, and then you have convection, and then you have CMAP, and then extratropical cyclones, and then nitrogen cycle. So it gives you a brief about what a nitrogen cycle is. It involves an image and everything. So basically it is like all collected, all of the information is collected at one place for easy reference. So the Semantic Encyclopedia was built to tackle global challenges. So mainly we'll be talking about with so much data being published every day in different formats like PDF, HTML, or XML. It is very hard to find meaningful connections within a lot of like a set of documents. So a semantic encyclopedia, it helps researchers, students, and policymakers to quickly explore the linked concepts and insights among them. So at Semantic Climate, we interns, we mainly work on semantifying the climate data and resources to make climate knowledge open. So we focus on the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, which is the IPCC sixth assessment reports. So I have chosen the working group 2 of this report, that is chapter 7, which focuses on health, well-being, and the changing structure of communities. So while going through the chapter, I came across few terms like Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, like Paris Agreement, mental health. So these all terms, they required more detailed exploration for me to enhance the comprehension of the chapter. So that's where building a semantic encyclopedia, it really helps. So it connects all of these terms with their meanings and relationships, making the chapter easier to understand. So let's see how the process works here. Over here, it is the overview of what we are going to do. So we start with a document, and from the document we extract the important key phrases and then build an encyclopedia that explains each one of them in context. So let's take a detailed step-by-step look into how it works. So the first step is to convert the HTML document into the cleaned plain text. So here we clean the HTML document and convert it into a plain text for easier text processing and analysis. So here you can see it is converted from all the things, the unnecessary things are removed, and it is converted into a clean plain text. And then here I have done, this shows the output of after processing and cleaning all the 18 chapters I have taken from the IPCC AR6 working group 2, which are converted from the HTML into plain text. So after we have converted this into plain text, the next process is we perform the automatic keyword extraction from the plain text files which we have obtained, which we use here over the txt2 phrases. So it is basically a Python library. So this method, it uses a TF-IREF based approach, which is enhanced with Hugging Face transformer embeddings to identify and rank the most relevant terms in each document. So using this method, we can extract key phrases which are very relevant to the document, which are very important for the document. So here you can see that climate change has appeared around 106 times in this document. So basically, as this is a document from climate, so basically climate change is more relevant in this. And since I'm talking about health, so mental health is also most relevant to this. So after we have next is I have extracted, based on this, using this method, I have extracted nearly 2,500 key phrases from thousands of pages of the IPCC AR6 Working Group 2 report. So now this is the output of it. So once the key phrases are extracted, the next step is to build a semantic encyclopedia that organizes and explains these terms. For building the semantic encyclopedia, we use the Semantic Climate Toolkit, which is the MLib. So MLib is a Python library which was developed by Peter Murray Rust. So this library, it supports the automated extraction of the definitions, descriptions, descriptive content, and images from the Wikimedia resources. So after the encyclopedia is generated, so it is generated in the HTML format, as you can see over here. So after that, it actually is visualized. So this is a Wikimedia enhancement of the encyclopedia, which is generated. You can see it includes the definitions, descriptions, as well as the images. So now that you understand what a semantic encyclopedia is and how it's built, you might be wondering where it can be applied. So now we'll go through the applications of the semantic encyclopedia. So firstly, you can use it to create a semantic knowledge graph. So basically, it is a knowledge graph as a structured way to represent knowledge where nodes are concepts and edges show relationship between them. So this helps to visualize and explore how ideas are connected within a domain. So here is an example of semantic knowledge graph for climate, health, and policy. So you can see over here that how pandemic not only affects the health outcomes, but also it affects the migration. So this is how we can understand through different terms how they are interconnected within them, and also explain it more clearly. So the next application is we can annotate the PDFs where the key phrases in document can be highlighted and connected to their entries in the semantic encyclopedia for easier reference. So here you can see the Paris Agreement, it is highlighted, and as well as the climate change, and you can see it is annotated. So the The next application is the content indexing and search, where documents are organized semantically, so users can quickly locate relevant information. So basically, in short, a semantic encyclopedia, it turns large volume of text into clear connected knowledge. So it makes complex information easier to understand and opens up applications from search and visualization to creating your own custom encyclopedia. So this is my team at Semantic Climate: Dr. Geetanjali Yadav, Professor Peter Murray Rust, Mr. Simon Warrington, Dr. Renu Kumari, and Ms. Udita Agrawal, myself, and Ms. Nidhi Sharma. So these are the links for our website and our work in GitHub, so you can go through them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zanab.
Yes,
really,
thank you.
Really incredible. One question I had for the group, well, I have a couple questions, but if anyone in the audience has a couple of questions, please go ahead and unmute yourself. If you'd like to drop it in the chat, I can read them off as well, really for any of our presenters. Well, I'd like to ask, and this may be something that has happened as part of the outreach for Semantic Climate, is whether the semantic encyclopedia could be used as a teaching tool to really kind of demonstrate semantic knowledge. I mean, it seems like the workflow is straightforward enough that really even younger students could really appreciate how knowledge comes together.
So I can take that one. This is not yet public knowledge, but in chemistry department in Cambridge, we have a group which is looking into a course on sustainability. And I have offered the Semantic Encyclopedia as a learning tool for this course. I stress the word learning because I think in today's world, teaching will be a smaller part of the educational process, and it will be rather carefully crafted around either certain techniques or for more general concepts. So for what I would call mainly factual knowledge, which is often a big problem in learning, I think this encyclopedia will be a very important approach. So the good news is that it is relatively easy to create an encyclopedia automatically. It's less easy to create a good encyclopedia, but that will depend on the subject. So for climate, we've taken two approaches. One is to use the IPCC's current terminology, which they call a glossary. This is about 5 years old and contains about 700 terms, and Simon will show an encyclopedia based on that later. But we take those 700 terms, as some sort of gold standard because the IPCC is the world authority on this. On the other hand, they're not actually all very useful to documents you might find outside, and some of them are really conceptual rather than things for learning. But we'll show you in a few minutes the interactive knowledge graph, which is created from these terms. That works if you've got a provider who has a controlled vocabulary already. And as an example, in plant chemistry, which is a major research area in Geetanjali Yadav's group, there are two natural sub encyclopedias there. one is plants, and one is chemistry. So there are about 10,000 chemicals which occur in plant volatiles. There are more for other chemicals, but if we take the volatile chemicals, there's about 10,000. So it's possible to create a dictionary of those, which is really extremely valuable for learning, because if you don't know what these compounds are from their name, it's a lot of effort to look them up. Similarly, in plants, plants can have synonyms, they can have common names and binomial Latin names, and so a dictionary or encyclopedia for these is really valuable. And when you come on to technical political subjects, so things like treaties and the COP process and things like that, there are a lot of terms in that which are made much more accessible when you use the encyclopedia. I don't think the encyclopedia by itself is a complete learning tool, because it doesn't have a learning structure in it. Its structure is the terms and how they're related to each other. But for those people who like browsing encyclopedias, I think it is a useful introduction to a subject to give you an idea of the language that you're going to encounter. Simon, do you have thoughts about that?
Well, I just noticed we had someone had their hand up who maybe wants to ask a question. So
I didn't see that. Yes.
Hi, name is Aditi Bandopadhyay. I'm the science librarian at Adelphi University in New York. I would like to know, is this a specialized encyclopedia for sciences only? I'm just thinking, how would you compete with Wikipedia that covers, almost every subject?
That's a very good question. We don't compete with Wikipedia. We work in close conjunction with Wikipedia. So think of this as a subset of Wikipedia for a particular subject. So Wikipedia has 100 million terms in it, in Wikidata, and several million articles in the English language version, but they're not easily structured as a tool which you can use to either browse through or to use to annotate your document. And to quite a large extent, what we do is we take Wikipedia, Wikimedia, and make it easier to use for that purpose by having just the particular collection of terms that you want. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you very much. I also have a question. Do you give the reader citations? So if they want to know where are those definitions coming from? Would you have linked to the citations what the original resources?
Well, the original resource for us is the term in some collection of terms. So as in the IPCC, 700 terms there, or the terms in some corpus that you're studying. And those terms are then resolved by going to Wikipedia. Wikipedia has references in it, and all of our terms have links to the Wikipedia page. So if you want to look at the links, they're there in Wikipedia. And if you want to find the relationship of them, you can look at the knowledge graph, which we've created from this subset. So it's all there if you want to find it through that process.
The knowledge graph would be accessible to your readers so they can see all the links, how they are interconnected with each concept, right?
Yes, anyone can use the knowledge graph, and we're going to show you one which was created for the IPCC terminology about 2 years ago. and that brings the terms together and links them with the links that IPCC put in. So the IPCC put in a variety of links there, which they felt were important, mainly parent-child relationships. But we are doing the same thing with our terms from Wikipedia, and there the link structure is much richer because they are the links that Wikipedia itself has in, and those have a number of different properties for the various links that they create.
Okay. Thank you very much for all the answers you've given me. Okay, I understand it better. Thank you very much, sir.
Simon, we're going to show the knowledge graphs fairly soon, right?
Yeah. I think if we feel like it's time to move on to the next section, I could present the climate knowledge graph.
Yes.
Project. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'll do that. So yeah, let me share my screen. 1 second.
And do ask questions if you don't understand things. Knowledge graphs are fairly recent in bibliographic use.
Yeah, so hopefully you can, I think you can see my screen. Yeah. So Peter was referring to a knowledge graph that Shweta Hegde made, as you said, a couple of years ago. And that was like a kind of proof of concept, looking at the IPCC glossary and pulling out those terms. And it was kind of interesting what you were asking, Aditi, about citations and references. I'll show that later on. But I think this part of the project here that I'm presenting speaks to that thing about trying to get back to the sources and make sure you have references and the like. So what I'm going to spend basically like no more than 10 minutes and introduce you to a project of semantic climate, which is done in partnership with the library where I'm based, which has several names, as libraries tend to have. So it can also be known as the Leibniz Information Center for Science and Technology. And the Climate Knowledge Graph is a project that we've tried to make happen for many years. And my library has kindly supported it from July this year. And we have myself and Lara Oldenburg working on the project for a year. So we've only started in July. So we're kind of still at the beginning. What are we doing? The IPCC AR6 has been mentioned a few times, and this is the assessment report of the current state of the effects of climate change, and it is done by a intergovernmental panel supported by the United Nations and the 193 nations who are signed up to it. Even though the US has left, it's only slowly left, and it left before and came back. And the report is probably one of the world's biggest literature reviews. So it looks at all the different science in all the different areas and looks to provide policy recommendations to government internationally on all levels. So you can kind of get an idea of the scale of the thing, well, maybe an idea. What are we doing? We want to apply these ideas of semantification, and I'll take you through what we're meaning by that. But essentially, we want to make the reports more accessible. We're moving through this quite quickly because of the work that we've done in the past in semantic climate. But essentially, we have to take a semi-structured document and structure it. And we want to bring this out not only to the audience that is already the IPCC has in mind, which is policymakers, other scientists, but we're also very interested in generally people being engaged with it. And so that's a project of ours. What do we have to do to make a knowledge? So this is an R&D project, and we are trying this for the first time. And we have to see how we can actually make a corpus like this semantified. And so we have to convert the semi-structured series of PDFs, web pages, into a knowledge graph. And then we're very much aimed, I'm coming from a library perspective, and so I'm coming from a service perspective. So we want to make it usable. How can people do the data analysis, like Zainab was showing, which is exactly the type of thing that can go on? How can people browse it more easily and search and republish? So a part of our our objectives. Sorry, my slightly impenetrable software diagram. This one will get better, but we work in an open source way. A lot of the majority of what we put together already exists. It's just about the case of like finding those community members who can give us the best advice of how to fit them together, and doing it. The red bits imply the bits that we're uncertain about, but yeah, we have a lot of things under our belt. And also TIB, where I work, is global based, where I'm based, and Lara is based, is an expert research center on knowledge graphs. That's what they do. The scale of what we're bringing on board, so it's 10,000 pages. It is in 6 languages. We can't always include everything. And as you might see here, I've got these different figures, but that is the kind of nature of the problem here. The IPCC have all this information, but it's not integrated. It's not connected. And that's the type of thing we look to do. We have to limit our scope. We are only a small group. And why do we do it? Well, the IPCC's reports are not only that they are a mixture, they are a combination of science, policy, and politics. It does have like their synthesis report, as they call it, which this is this one here. It actually has to have like all the 193 nations agree on every paragraph in it. Yeah. So imagine that kind of sign off, plus a ridiculous amount of comments, like, 40,000 comments that come back to review X and Y. But we really can see that we can really help leverage what they have. We can apply those open science infrastructures of PIDs and ontologies to it. And even it points into the area of the use of LLMs and the like. If you use a knowledge graph or a better vector database with your LLM, you can increase its reliability. What do we look to do once we've got it in a knowledge graph? Because it's not only about, our objective is better access. So we look at browsing, and we look at browsing as a data structure, but also just browsing the document itself. It's an extremely dense document. So as examples, we use Wikidata as the self-hosted version of Wikibase. So you see on the left here, this is how you can see the data structure, and this allows a visibility of that, but also other data scientists to come and say, hey, we can add an enrichment layer. And we also can use, as one of our interfaces, the Wikimedia MediaWiki style interface. So something people are familiar with. You're seeing the data analysis. So what Zainab was talking about is exactly what Zainab has actually already been doing, but we would bring it together. And this encompasses like the original annotation that is there but isn't connected from the IPCC, and then we would separate it out into different layers. So it's always important to keep the complete integrity of that original document. That the IPCC reports are something like set in stone. But we're through the Wikibase and knowledge graph technologies, we allow for this type of data analysis, and people can just come and use it too. They don't have to enrich. And yes, Jupyter notebooks are a big part of this. That's also how just many people can make use of a lot of data science tooling. And then we look at another use is really to bring things to actually those users that the IPCC wants to go to, which is like people at all different levels of government. I'm on a regional planning department asked to look at transport change. How can I reference and get bits of the report? So we look to search and then compile those parts of the report together with the search results that people have looked for. So we've got a couple of examples here, and this is where we use a bit of technology I'll talk about later on, which is CSS page media. So I will wrap up there and say thank you. And yeah, this is we're doing our part in this, but it really is something that requires many people to come on board with. So yeah, I put out it's an invitation. I will stop sharing now. Yeah. Thank you.
Simon, thank you so much for sharing that. I think it's so important for us to recognize everyone's unique perspectives and interdisciplinary. And when it comes to climate action, we all have to work together. But that means very quickly understanding the applied vocabularies and research techniques from these different disciplines. And I think semantic climate works as like an equalizer, and the other semantic climate tools for people to quickly dive into interdisciplinary solutions. So I thank you guys for that as well.
Thank you.
So we are just about to the conclusion, but we do want to talk a little bit about how everyone can get involved with semantic climate. And it looks like Simon is going to talk about that a little bit more. And then also we'll also at the end share a little bit more about the events we have for the rest of this week.
So how long were you thinking of going on for?
Well, maybe we want to talk about how folks want to get involved, and then we'll add a little bit more time for questions at the end, and we'll wrap up by 1:15 or so.
Okay.
Sure.
I think it would be nice for Simon at least to show the encyclopedia book that he's created as readable, publishable, printable object, right?
Yeah, I could just show you
Take 2 minutes to show that, because I think it's also, I should say that everything we do is geared to be automatic. If one trusts the original material, then we build processes which automatically create derivative works from it.
Yeah. I think it pretty makes, if we want to show how people can be involved in semantic climate and the work it does, maybe it makes sense for us to show the resources page.
Yes.
Because that shows like projects that we have done, and Zainab, you can pitch in on things, or Peter, and maybe if I share my screen and show you the resources page of semantic climate, there might be things that you want to talk about. So hopefully you should be seeing my screen. Renu is the person that has been maintaining this resource page, and it contains a lot, yeah, I mean, why don't we just kind of dip into a few things? So, for example, the internship program. This is run out of NIPGR in Delhi with a number of, I think, supporting organizations and a number of different programs, I think, isn't it, Peter, that students come into from across India that looks to support early career researchers, PhD students, from all different types of backgrounds and really across the country. Some come on site, I think, yeah, and some are remote. So you can see here how we've gone back through, we go back through time, and the students and interns have basically been, they will not only work with the tooling, and they can really come from very different technical backgrounds, from like zero to hero in a few weeks, or be very advanced software, software enthusiasts who go on to actually make full modules for what we've put together. Quite a number of the core tooling has been made by young students who've come along and really delved in, as well as producing a lot of resources around the IPCC reports. As one example, I mean, they also do carry out literature reviews and the like. I'll show you that. I think what Peter was referring to was the IPCC glossary as, is that? Yes. Oh no, this is Schrader's knowledge graph of the IPCC glossary, not the.
Well, she said it wasn't.
One.
I mailed her today. She said it wasn't hers, but
okay.
This is taking the glossary or the encyclopedia, and while you're watching here, it's building a knowledge graph between 700 nodes, which is why it takes a bit of time, but
it'll get there.
And there's a lot of technology now making knowledge graphs easy to navigate and search.
Yeah, so I think we have, I think, two sets of nodes here. Is it that it comes from the two different assessment reports? I'm not quite sure myself.
No, I think the blue ones are the more important ones with greater connectivity.
Okay, yeah. So it attempts to kind of give a weight to their importance, maybe like how many times they've appeared or how many connections, the chapters that they are referring to, or how much they connect to one another. Yeah, so this is like one example of the creation of a knowledge graph. I'll maybe leave that running and just come back into the resources from another page. Maybe this is the glossary one, as a book type. Now this was a really great collaborative project, because I think it was happening during a UN hackathon, or one. We do many hackathons, but we took the IPCC glossary, but then participants. We did this as a crowdsourced event. So participants, I think, either automatically or manually brought in the illustration from Wikipedia. And then so the illustration wouldn't have existed before, and obviously that makes something more tangible. And also people created translations. So I think to Hindi and German, it made a lot of difference always to think, but mainly Hindi. Yeah, so you can see and this is using part of the CSS page media, which is another technology we plug onto the outputs of various semantified works, which allows us to have PDF-like layout, but without destroying the semantic information underneath. So you can have your cake and eat it, as they might say. Yeah, and I think also there would, this must all be parts that have come from, the white parts, where you maybe can't see it, but the white parts are the parts from IPCC, and the slightly pinkish part is what was annotated or added on. Yeah, so this is, so I think we wanted to show you, and also there is a lot of training material to onboard people. So each of the softwares has documented training material, videos, quite often or not, but as much as we can, it has been reviewed and tested. So we make sure that it comes through. And yeah, so I think in terms of like, Peter, what would you say is a kind of like way for people to come on board or make use of what we have?
Well, I think this is a question of solutions meeting problems, and we need to know more about what problems or visions you have that we might be able to help with. I should say that all our material is open source. There's no charge, and we will, we will help make sure that in the first instance you can get things installed and usable. Obviously, we can't run your projects for you, but we think that the tools that we've got will make the knowledge much more accessible to reuse in different ways, and we'd love to know what they are. I mean, you may have a general question like, how do we move from books to distributed electronic knowledge? Or you might have particular subjects that you want to know about. We've not said much about our automatic search of the literature, but for example, we published a paper on climate justice, and we did that by searching the literature, building a corpus, analyzing it. And I should say that in the first instance, this can take minutes. It obviously takes a lot longer to assess whether it's valuable. But if you say, give me a corpus on climate justice and put in the most recent papers and the ones which are most relevant to climate justice, it can do that sort of thing in 5 minutes and give you something which you can look at and see whether it's useful or whether you want to throw it away.
Peter, thank you so much. Yeah, I think it's the best way for everyone to learn, that to get their head around how to use the various tools and realize when they have an active problem. I mean, in my case, as the architecture librarian, I really try to look at performance solutions for buildings, how designers will actually measure, bring in data from smart buildings and recognize how they can bring the sensory systems of a building into the function of the building. So this is an area that for designing with form, they're actually designing with feedback. And so to me, that's the area of primary interdisciplinary investigation that I'm going to continue working on. It looks like Dean Millie Gonzalez is able to join. She just came back from another meeting. So I'm just going to see if I can snag her into this Zoom meeting. So if anyone else has questions, or if we want to talk a little bit more about how folks get involved, obviously they use all the tools and experiment with them on their own. I've used the Colab notebooks, and they're very clear. The directions are very clear. And it's just a matter of, like you said, identifying your problems and joining. But please, if anyone would like to unmute or add a question to the chat, I think it's open to learning more.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm from City University of New York, and I'm a scholar in Chinese family history and genealogy. And the semantic web, let me keep in deep thoughts about the subject that I've been dealt with for the past 30 decades about tracing the Chinese family names and their genealogical traits. I wonder whether a specific area, because I don't really understand your examples because I'm not in that part of the science, and I'm totally delved into my own subject-specific interests, which I've been with for a long time. So how and whether that would be an option in the future, as it like a green light that actually brightened my mental process. Keep thinking whether this would be an area that might be a good area to explore as a semantic way. Thank you. I don't know if it's correct. I'm not very.
Well,
I don't know. What can I say? I don't know.
Well, that's a very interesting challenge, and I think we can only solve part of that. But it's fair to say, first of all our tools are specifically tooled so that they obey Unicode and UTF-8 character representations. One of the big problems with anything outside European alphabets is that you have problems of encoding and so on. It is technically possible to search and organize, a variety of languages, but it will be more difficult. That's certainly true.
Yeah, actually, I'm not planning to use the Chinese language to that. As a matter of fact, it's the way to helping Chinese Americans. So actually, it will be written in English, most likely, with the aid of the name, original name on the side, which it would be created like an image. So my book and my publications had over the past few decades is actually written in English. So I'm helping the ABC, American born Chinese, rather than the Mandarin Chinese in China. There are so many resources because I'm bilingual and I happen to be an expert and being consulted for various things for the people that they are painfully trying to find their ancestors. So I'm making the channel, east and west, and I'm on this side, on the English side more than my Mandarin side. But that was my native language, so I'm very good at both languages. So I could be channeled between. It will be written in English. Then there are so many resources everywhere that is written, and I can, if it's in Mandarin, I can translate them and make them useful for the readers that can only read in English and understand, comprehend. So then they could trace their family. So that's
I think there's quite a few things I think that kind of relate to what you're talking about. For example, I work with colleagues at Heidelberg University, which have an East Asia Studies department, and so they will take, film footage, ephemera, documents, and mark them up semantically.
Right.
So that you can search, and so this is like, I'm sure probably but like you can stem a word to its like have an identifier.
Yes.
And so you can search for a Mandarin word in another language and find it. So they do this type of work. So they will like OCR or somehow digitize different material and then make it searchable in other languages, and just to make it revealed, like it might be the League of Nations inquiry into the Japanese invasion in China, or
Right.
it might be theater and ephemera fashion publications from the 1930s or 40s in China. Yeah, so I do see it being applied. Yeah, and I think in the kind of it crosses over to what you're talking about. I'm not working in that area myself, but I work with people who do that.
I know. I'm not working in your area, so I know better in my area.
Yeah.
And I thought that before I hit the retirement, this would be an immense project, and I can help so many people in this country. Then, because I frequently will receive email from somewhere, people find my name through the lecture I did, through the publications that endorsed as an expertise in this area. So they will ask me how to find their family origin and book. We in Chinese traditional, we have so-called the family book. It's actually documented generation by generation for the family. So well, that's I think very unique. But
yeah, well, you've got something
I
data mine.
I should caution that this will work best where you have a well-defined terminology and where documents are fairly formal. That's what we've developed it on. I mean, it's general, but the more you go towards digital humanities, I think the more noise you'll get in the system.
Oh. Well, I'm interested to know more then. My curiosity. Thank you for your lecturing. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I see a question in the chat. Will translations be something available in the future?
We don't do translations of text. What we do is we use these tools to find equivalences of terms in different languages, so that Wikimedia is very good on this. You will often find that the terms available in say 50 languages, something of that sort, particularly if it's concerned with an important subject. And that will be translated fairly accurately because it's a term. But translating text is not something that we could do any better than any other of the modern tools. I mean, if you have a translator that you believe in, then we can plumb it into the system.
Well, hold on. I can translate by myself. I can work on both sides of the project because I knew better than other people about what the subject area is then. I mean, especially translation of the person's last name. it has more than, believe it or not, people translate in different way, their own way, not
Yes.
using the standardized format. But then my purpose, my goal is to find their original form. But I also have to respect the real person's last name, a real name of a person to match up with. So there is no 100% match. There are so many on the English translation and then match to one single last name written in Chinese. So that's a little different in a way of regular translations. That's what
Aditi, I think, has a question to contribute to this.
Thank you.
Very interesting conversation.
Yeah. My question is about AI. Now we are living in the age of AI. I would like to know, do you think that AI would play any role in your project in the future, or is it playing any role right now?
Yes, but a limited one. So the problem with AI for many of these projects is it will give you an answer uh, which is useful most of the time, but from time to time it will get things wrong. I just asked the machine to do a voiced transcript for me today, and it got it absolutely wrong. It didn't even relate to the subject and so on. So the problem with conversions is you have to be able to trust them. And at the moment, I don't trust these 100%, and certainly not if we're using something like climate, which is where it's very, very important to be precise and accurate. So what we try and do is we write code which translates and transcribes 100% accurately so that we can believe in the result. The AI is good for finding resources. It's a very good search engine, but like all search engines, it will come up with noise. We also looked at two different approaches to AI generation, particularly the RAG approach. So we are gradually building a semantic chatbot which queries our corpus, but to do this, you have to either do fine tuning of the material, or you have to have guide rails in a RAG implementation.
Okay. Thank you very much. But you are still using a little bit of AI, right?
Oh, yes. AI is good
Yeah.
for some things. I mean, I use it for summarization. It's good for that. It's good for coming up with a program of work so that, we didn't do it this time, but we might have said, okay, we've got to present our work to a group of people. Will you write us a set of topics to be covered, and then we will review that. It's good at remembering the things that you miss out as well.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think we've been experimenting, and we did actually use a whole variety of different types of AI, summarization, interface generation, vibe coding across our workflow this summer. And I think that gave us a bit of, I don't think it was as difficult as we thought it would be to do, because quite often not, it's like, oh, okay, I've got to put my foot in the water. We've got to kind of, my whole workflow is going to just be completely torn apart. I don't know. That was my experience. It wasn't so bad as I thought. I mean, bad in terms of like doing it. Reliability, we definitely face the issue, for example, with the if we want to be, and as we do want to work with the AI, with the IPCC report, these are policy documents that have to meet a policy level of a quality policy level, which is where legislation will be made on them. Big amounts of, there are big economic consequences. Lives are on the line. You can't get the policy wrong. So policy demands your level, your acceptability of risk is reduced. You can't have that risk. If I want a summary of how my tool works and I get a summary, that's okay,
Do we have a hand from Millie?
Hi, forgive me, my camera's all wonky, but this is very fascinating, and also forgive me for my ignorance, but I'm just looking at the semantic climate a climate encyclopedia webpage where they had the graphic, right? And just trying to understand the workflow. My question is, after the keyword extraction, that it will generate a structured keyword list. I'm wondering, is there a possibility to also add a crosswalk to existing control vocabulary? As a librarian, I think that might be also something that's of interest. I don't know if it's already happening. Just wanted to get your thoughts. Thank you.
It depends if there's a subject with controlled vocabulary, then we would always look to use it. We have included several of those in that. As I say, particularly in plant chemistry, where we've got plants. When we look at plant chemistry, we've actually got something like 9 different controlled vocabularies of various sorts. So plants, chemistry, geography, organizations, all of these are important, and some of them are provided already by AIs, which include these in their training. But what we need from these vocabularies is also a greater embellishment with descriptions and images and so on, because we want this encyclopedia to be usable by people from high school up. We have high schoolers, who are exploring this. So, they want a sort of background that will help them get into a subject.
And just my follow-up, I also am a big proponent of OER and open textbooks. I don't know if, in terms of creating that encyclopedia and adding references from existing OER, is that also a possibility?
Well, I'm also a fan of OER and have followed a number of proponents of that, in Cambridge and elsewhere. I think it very much depends on the subject and, which resources exist. Being open, if there's an open resource from which you want the references, then it's fairly straightforward to get the tool to extract those. Something which is open now is normally available in HTML, and that allows you to read it in a systematic manner and pull it all together. We haven't done this very much because we don't ourselves have a need for it at the moment, but we could certainly incorporate it if people wanted it.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, I just get the sense, as people work with the tool themselves and build their own notebooks, then they'll adapt it to their own corpus of knowledge and start to build their own glossaries.
Yep.
That's fantastic. Well, I'm very happy that we've had such great active discussion. I don't know if there's anyone else who has some final questions or comments. We have as you all think about that, I'll just put up the slide about the remainder of the week. If anyone wants to join any of the additional presentations. Let me share my screen again. So on Friday, I hope you can't hear my stomach growling. On Friday, we have an introduction to PIJA papers and a demonstration from Ms. Udita Agarwal and Dr. Renu Kumari, and we'll hear again from Ms. Zainab. And they will walk us through using the PIJA papers and how the project came together. You can use the QR code if you want to bring up the page to easily register for that. And if you don't feel like registering, you just want to send me a note, I'm happy to sign you up as well. And then later in the afternoon, we will hear from Dr. Gitanjali Yadav, and she will talk about the Semantic Climate Program and really speak to the open access theme, who owns our knowledge, and the consequences of really what all this work is and why we need it so urgently. So with that, any final questions or comments? Otherwise, I hope you all have a wonderful day. And I really thank everyone for coming together. Please also meet Amy, the logo, the mascot, not the logo, the mascot of Semantic Climate. Tools like this, we need to build in a lot of empathy and understanding. Oh, I see there's a couple of things in the chat. Give me one moment.
We're not a bunny. No, we're not a bunny. We're a kangaroo. A kangaroo from Australia.
We are a kangaroo.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Wait, and there's a Joey, right? Oh, yeah, Amy.
Oh, there's a sticker too. Ah. Mm-hmm.
No, it's a phone holder. We've just got a 3D printer, so when we physically meet, we can make those.
Okay.
Well, thank you, everyone, so much.
Thank you.
I'll be sharing out the recording, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day.
Great. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.